Hello everyone and welcome back guys to AOR Season 14, Round 5 here at the Spanish Grand Prix. And as you can see, it is very, very wet here today at the Spanish Grand Prix, and I think it's safe to say this season hasn't exactly gone my way in terms of, the first 4 rounds of this series. If you did miss out the last episode, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out, but today we're here, I'm hoping finally that we can try and score some points. But I'm going to leave you on board then first of all with my fastest lap in qualifying. Quite a conservative lap on the whole, especially, as it was a very, very damp track. So as we come out then of the final corner to finish off my qualifying lap for the Spanish Grand Prix, we go up into P6 on the grid then. So very, very happy with that lap. Easily my best qualifying position of the year after. My best was actually P10 last time out at the Russian Grand Prix there. So very, very happy with that qualifying lap. You can see actually over a second off the pole time, which was P1R Brown there. You can see Mighty Midget has disconnected from P2 on the grid, as well as the Mercedes of Gorge Crab there from P4 on the grid. So that is certainly not what either of those two would have wanted for the start of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately for the pair of them, they could not make it back in by the time we were ready for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. So as you can see now on the grid, I'm actually up into P4, but look at that weather. 2 phases of heavy rain, 2 phases of light rain, and then 2 phases right towards the end of cloudy weather. So I'm going to run a little lean in terms of the fuel for this Grand Prix. This is going to be my best shot of points by an absolute mile in the start of this season. This race probably will end up being a bit of a race of attrition here. So if I can just score good solid points here today, I'll be very, very happy. Just keep it on the road, and hopefully, people around me will make mistakes in this race. So, I could try and get to a bit of a better result. But here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Spanish Grand Prix. Honestly, I have no idea how well this will go. One of my first ever races properly in the rain on this game. But we're on the grid then. It's 3 lights, it's 4 lights, it's 5 lights for the Spanish Grand Prix. And it is lights out and away we go. And as you'd expect, off to a massively wheel spinny start there. Even though I was in the lean revs there, finally been able to put the full power down as we get up into 4th and 5th gear there. Running a little bit of lean revs down towards turn 1. Want to keep it nice and clean as Bobberts outbreaks TRL Ellis there. So the top 4 have stayed all in order there. Sam F1 LFC actually tried to have a look right around my outside there. But Diehard Fan now moves up into P5 here. So it's going to be absolutely crucial for him, because he could score a big haul of points in this Grand Prix as well here. You see coming out of the first couple of corners here, TRL Ellis still looking all over the place to try and make moves on Bobberts and P1R Brown. But, through these first couple of laps, as I said, my aim was just to keep it clean and keep it consistent. Don't want to make any mistakes. I'd much rather finish P8 and survive with, a front wing and everything, rather than risk fight for like P5, for example, and then end up binning the car and not scoring any points from this Grand Prix. I desperately need points on the board coming into this race. See coming through onto the back straight, then P1R Brown and Extra Bobberts running side by side there, and TRL Ellis is going to try and look down the inside of the pair of them here. They're 3 wide on the first lap of this Spanish Grand Prix. Ellis gets it parked nicely on the apex there. We try and have a look down the inside of P1R Brown, but Ellis moves up into the race lead there. An incredible move by him in the early stages of this Grand Prix. Bobbitt's, though, looks right back around the outside of him through the final couple of corners there. And Ellis, is he going to be able to hold on to the lead? He barges Bobbitt's out wide off the circuit there, but Ellis holds on to the race lead there in his typical very, very robust style there as he come out of the final corner there. Bobbitt's up into P2, P1R Brown are the real loser in that situation there, all the way down into P3, and he might actually be relegated to P4 if we can have a look past him there, but unfortunately I was running such high wings for this Grand Prix, you know, I was just wanted it completely set up for a wet circuit there. There was going to be absolutely no chance I was going to be able to make moves down the straights here. We can see now skipping on towards the end of lap 2 here, and Bobbitt and Ellis once more side by side in towards this final sector of the lap, but I think there's been a tiny bit of contact there, and Bobbitt has been sent spinning into the gravel trap there. That moves me up into P3 of the Grand Prix here, so we're looking like a podium could be on the cards in the early stages of this Spanish Grand Prix here. This was absolutely perfect for me at the moment, and Ellis and P1R Brown, you know, still very, very close in front of me here. So if I could keep, you know, within touching distance of those guys, if they had a bit of an incident or whatever, then that could really, really benefit me. But skipping on out to the end of lap 6 here, and P1R Brown dives it very, very early in for his first pit stop of the day, moving on to a set of the intermediate tyres here. And this was going to be, you know, these next couple of laps are going to be a very, very big gamble there. Sam F1 LFC, the championship leader from behind me, also dives into the pits, but Ellis and I stay out. Ellis, though, 1 lap later opts to dive it into the pit lane here, so I'm now going to be up in the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix, something I certainly didn't expect to see. You can see that most drivers actually opting to make a pit stop on the end of that lap here, so that left me up in the lead, and by the end of lap 8 I was definitely going to be making a pit stop on the end of this lap here. Franglish and Extra Bobbitt still on the set of full wets there behind me as well. You know, they were trying to just cling on a little bit longer, you know, get a bit cleaner. You know, it was potentially, I don't think, you know, at this stage of the race we were losing out on any sort of big time being on this set of the wet tyres here, but it certainly was not helping me here as I come down in towards the final couple of corners then, and almost losing the back end there. You can hear the back end breaking away so much, but now diving into the pit lane here and making sure that we do get the car so down, nearly take the wheel off on that little handrail thing there on the side. That was certainly would have been the noobiest of noob mistakes if I'd done that, but we do get the car slowed down quite comfortably into the pit lane here, and now we've got to make sure we get off to a nice clean stop there, releasing the clutch. Actually not a particularly bad stop there on the whole, but now it's going to be interesting to see where we would come out in the grand scheme of things. Ellis flies past me here, and TK Poodle, who actually started the race on that set of intermediate tyres there, is now up into P2 of the Grand Prix. He's got Brown right behind him there, so that's probably benefited me a little bit more than it realistically should have there, because Brown, I reckon, probably should have gained a bit more time from that, but unfortunately he's been held up behind TK Poodle here. But now, as you can see, skipping on to the end of lap 10 here, the start of lap 11, and Brown really needs to make that move on Poodle here. You know, I think he felt a little bit pressured from me behind, so, you know, if he could try and get through, get a bit of breathing space there, as you can see, which he is able to do so as he goes right around the outside through turn 1 here. But it was going to be absolutely crucial for me then that I wasn't going to get held up by Poodle too much over these next couple of laps here, and we actually get a much better run out of turn 3 here. We might have a look down the inside in towards turn 4 there. Poodle runs a bit deep. We're going to be able to get the car down the inside there, and this is certainly not what P1R Brown wanted, because I've been able to make the move less than 4 corners later here, and I'm all over the back of him once more at the third way stage of this Grand Prix. So this is, I've actually got some genuine pace around this Spanish Grand Prix circuit. This was, you know, by lap 22, skipping another third of the way through, both myself and Brown have caught all the way up to TRL Ellis, who was leading the Grand Prix at the moment. And this, you know, it was looking like a potentially really good result for me as we come through the final couple of corners. The track was slowly getting drier and drier, and Ellis runs a little bit deep through the final corner there. He completely puts Brown in the wall as he dives into the pit lane there. That moves me back up into the lead of the Grand Prix, and I think the problem was for a lot of drivers now, where they have pit a bit earlier than me, they were actually really struggling on at their set of intermediates. You can see mine were over 64% here, but for me, I wanted to wait until the dry period did finally come, and as you can see, 1 lap later, you know, the track actually did dry out very quickly here. It was probably a little bit early to be pitting on to the set of the soft tyres here, but it was really hopefully going to benefit me here. My laps had been very solid as we get the car soaked down nicely into the pit lane once more there. But yeah, as I said, the laps, you know, I've been really consistent, I felt, over these last couple of laps. I probably had the tyre advantage moving on into the final few laps of this Grand Prix. Get a quite nice pit stop there, able to react quite nicely to the lights, and you can see now Ellis up into P2 on that set of soft tyres here. He's going to come out of the final corner there. We're going to light up the rear wheels as we try and get the car pulled out of the pit lane there, and we now move up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix here. I cannot believe I am saying that as we come through the first couple of corners. And as you can see now, though, we have actually got a 3-second penalty in this Grand Prix. So over these next few laps, it was going to be absolutely crucial, just in case Ellis did not have a penalty here, that we, needed to try and pull away just a couple more seconds. As you can see, by the end of lap 27, we were setting the fastest laps of the Grand Prix there, but we weren't able to shake off Ellis as much as I would like. Now, on to the end of lap 29, the start of lap 30, and although the gap was basically stabilising around 2.5 seconds, this was not looking ideal for myself in this Grand Prix. But now as we skip on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, and the gap had actually come down just a tiny bit, so this was certainly not what I needed here. The gap is to see 2.4 seconds as we move on into the final lap of the Grand Prix. So I'm going to leave you on board with this final lap. It was going to have to be absolute maximum attack here as we go through the first couple of corners. My setup actually for the drive was quite drivable as well. I made it such, a smooth and consistent setup that, I just didn't want any issues in at the rain, and it probably really benefited me in the dry overall as well as we come through the first few corners here. But you can see we're just not able to get that gap up to Ellis behind me, and there's just nowhere really where we can make up a huge chunk of time. My best sector was probably the middle sector relative to Ellis, where I was running such high downforce on this car. But through in towards the final few corners of this race, attacking the curbs as much as I possibly can at every single point around this circuit, using the rich revs, braking as late as I possibly dare. They're clipping the apex through the final few corners there. The gap only up to 2.7. I completely sliced that corner, and that is going to be another penalty in the Spanish Grand Prix there, and that basically, I think, is fair to say, race over for myself. But I'm not willing to give up. Going to absolutely fly through the final couple of corners of this Spanish Grand Prix. My only hope is Ellis has just got near enough as many penalties as me. We fly out the final corner, though, down towards the line, and here is the moment of truth then. And across the line Ellis goes, and we somehow win that Grand Prix there. It wouldn't have even mattered if we got another penalty, because we won by 3.061 seconds at the end there. But that race, I certainly was not expecting to come out with the victory on the whole there. Very, very lucky. I'm not even going to deny that. With the incident with Bobbitt's at the start, the incident with P1R Brown, sort of on lap 22, lap 23 after that incident with Ellis, and then, just having that fresher tyres meant that I could, obviously go onto the set of softs at the absolutely perfect time there. But 6 seconds worth of time penalties for both myself and TRL Ellis there. But finally, we have scored points in AOR Season 14 F2, and a race victory. Nothing more I could have really asked for there. Hopefully, this is a bit of a turnaround for me, and I can now try and fight for race victories more so often. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time for the Monaco Grand Prix.